The burning question on the minds of most Kenyans, especially those who are observing Kenya politics and Kenya news very closely, is the following. How did the Raila Odinga meeting in the United States go? What happened? How did the negotiations end? How? Kenyans have been in the dark. There is no news coming out of the US concerning this meeting, which many critical observers of Kenyan politics have been watching very closely. And instead what we're getting are just unconfirmed reports, rumors even. But let us start with what we know, and then we'll move on to what we don't know, so that at least we can shed a little light as to what may have unfolded in the United States of America that could easily have far-reaching consequences and impact on our politics going forward. Now, I've been able to establish so far that indeed the meeting has taken place and it has been concluded. So we know that it is over. But you know how a meeting ends is very important. If you have a meeting with somebody else, the way you come out of that meeting will be able to tell observers whether that meeting was successful or not, whether that meeting achieved objectives it was meant to achieve or not. Now, according to credible information I have, the meeting was not conclusive. What does that mean? It means that whatever was being discussed, the discussion was not concluded. Now, that could mean that it will be concluded at a future date. But it could also mean that it will not be concluded in the near future. Now, super fascinating is the fact that rumor has it that Raila Odinga stormed out of the meeting. He was not in agreement with what was being suggested. That's what rumor has it. But you know, rumors are just rumors. And we don't work with rumors on this channel. But it should also interest us that Miguna, that lawyer who recently returned to the country, the controversial lawyer, everybody knows him, has recently tweeted something that suggests that these rumors may not be so far away from the truth and the reality of the situation. I believe you can see the tweet in front of your screens right now. Just make up your mind for yourself whether what I'm suggesting may be it or not. Because we're all allowed to have our own opinions when facts are not forthcoming. But what I want us to do here is to quickly look at the options that Raila Odinga has. Because if we look at those options, we'll still be able to predict or at least have a very good idea of what is bound to happen next. Now, we already know that this time round, Raila Odinga is very determined to retrieve his victory. He has been robbed of his victory many times and has ended up making a deal Yeah, sometimes a handshake, sometimes a government of national unity, a coalition government. We know that those options are not on the table this time round. Even if Raila Odinga himself had an inkling to move in that direction, his supporters would not move with him. At least we know that. We also know that Raila Odinga had already put some plans into motion, which were not going to be affected by the meeting he was going to in the United States. That meant whatever the outcome of that meeting, these plans were cast in stone. They would still go ahead. Now, for instance, we know that those plans include very close consultations with his political advisors and his legal advisors. We've already covered that in a previous video. What is all this telling us? It is telling us that Raila Amolo Odinga is about to make a game-changing move. That's really what it is. Now, there are a few things that have been unfolding on our local political scene that may look like they are a huge disadvantage to Raila Odinga, but actually they are the very opposite. And I'll give you the classic example. Many Azimio supporters have been very disappointed at the news that the Jubilee party is going to pull out of Azimio. And you can't blame them, because on the surface of things, Jubilee pulls out of Azimio. Azimio has even less numbers than they already have, at a time when they desperately need the numbers. However, when you look at it more deeply, there are a few things that emerge. For starters, we have seen the House of Mumbi close ranks, circle their wagons, unite in one voice right across the political divide. We've already seen that happening. And already it has had an impact, because we know in the vote for IALA members, members of the East African Legislative Assembly, we know that a member of the House of Mumbi, Kanini Kega, went through on the strength of House of Mumbi votes in Parliament from both sides of the political divide, from both UDA and Azimio. Now, many people may not know this, but there's emerging evidence that this newfound unity of the House of Mumbi may have been triggered, wait for this one, from within Azimio. Now that may sound strange, and I hope I'm not confusing anybody. So let me go a little slower. And let me give a simple example. You want to go to war as a nation, and therefore you want to be at maximum strength. And you have another friendly nation that you would like to join you in this war to defeat your common enemy. Now, there are two ways you could go about this. One, you could get the other army to actually join the ranks of your own army so that you attack as one. Another option, which more often than not is much more effective, is to coordinate attacks. Your army on this side coordinating its own attacks, and that other friendly army on the other side coordinating their own attacks, maybe even from a different direction, but all targeted at the same enemy. I hope you get what I'm driving at now. It is much easier to quickly achieve House of Mumbi unity outside Azimio than it is within Azimio. And so it would make perfect sense for the Azimio High Command to release the House of Mumbi members within the coalition, with their blessings, to go and unite with their counterparts in UDA. You know, there's something which politicians never fail to see, and that is an advantage that gives them more power. And of course, the members from the House of Mumbi within UDA will never miss to see the fact that when they unite as a community, they will have much more power than being divided across the political divide. That should be rather obvious. And therefore many will jump at the opportunity. And indeed that is precisely what has already happened. And what resulted in the election of Kanini Kega to Yala. And of course it helps a great deal that there has been grumbling within the House of Mumbi ranks, within UDA. People are disillusioned. People are not fully satisfied that they are getting what they were promised. So you can see, what may have looked like a disadvantage to Baba is in fact an advantage. Indeed, Baba seems to have a secret weapon, which could easily be unleashed at the right moment. And by the way, if you follow the history of Raila Odinga, he thrives in situations where he looks like he has been cornered. And indeed, if you are to believe all the newspaper stories, all the media reports, you would be convinced that Raila Odinga, kwisha maneno. Raila Odinga, completely and truly cornered. That's what you'd believe. But I'm here to tell you, that is not the reality. Now, Raila Odinga handlers have always made a very big deal of Raila coming back into the country. And it is not clear whether that will be repeated this time round. But all indications are that we should expect a lot of fireworks, a lot of shocking developments shortly after Raila Odinga returns into the country. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.